I still remember the night it happened. The night my husband, Daniel, stopped being the man I knew. He wasn't killed. He wasn't sick. He wasn't even physically hurt. But something inside him cracked the moment he pressed play. And since that night, no amount of love, no amount of patience, no amount of pleading has been able to put him back together again. It all started with a video. A single video that shattered 12 years of marriage and buried everything we'd built under a pile of lies. Daniel was the kind of man people envied. Not for money or status, but for his character. Steady. Loyal. The sort of husband who fixed the leaky faucet at midnight without complaint. Who sat through family dinners with a smile even when he was exhausted from work. For years I thought nothing could shake him. But lately he'd been suspicious. Guarded. Like he was constantly waiting for something bad to happen. I noticed it one Saturday evening when we were folding laundry. "You've been out late a lot," he said casually, too casually. His hands kept folding, but his eyes flicked up at me. "Work's been insane," I replied. "Deadlines. You know how it is." His jaw tightened. "Yeah, I know how something is." I laughed it off, but deep down I felt a coil of unease. Daniel wasn't a jealous man. If he was asking, it was because he already knew more than he was saying. 3 nights later, I found him in the living room at 2 a.m., staring at the darkened TV screen. His phone sat on the coffee table, the light still glowing from a paused video. "Daniel," I whispered, my throat dry. He didn't look at me, didn't blink, just sat there rigid. I took a step closer. The silence in the room was unbearable. Finally I leaned down and saw the screen. My stomach flipped. It was me, laughing, tilting my head the way I do when I've had a little too much wine. My hands tangled in someone else's hair, a man's. My lips pressed against his in a way I had never kissed Daniel. Hungry, desperate, alive. Daniel pressed play. My voice filled the room. A sound I wished I could claw out of existence. "Oh God, don't stop." I staggered back as if I'd been shot. My hands flew to my mouth. I couldn't breathe. Where did you get that?" I whispered. He turned to me then, and I'll never forget his face. Not angry. Not even tearful. Just hollow. "I think the better question," he said slowly, "is how long has this been going on?" I opened my mouth, but the truth stuck in my throat. Had been 6 months. 6 months of stolen hours, excuses, pretending to stay late at work. I told myself it wasn't serious, that it was a mistake, that Daniel didn't have to know. But seeing myself on that screen, undeniable and raw, stripped away every excuse. Daniel, please. Don't." His voice cracked, sharp enough to cut through me. "Don't insult me with lies. I never meant to. You never meant to." His laugh was bitter, jagged. "You don't accidentally climb into another man's bed. You don't accidentally let someone record you while you..." His voice trailed off, choked by disgust. I reached for him, but he flinched back as if my touch was poison. "Who is he?" he demanded. The name sat like acid on my tongue. I couldn't speak it. If I said it aloud, it would become real, unerasable. Daniel shook his head, reading my silence as confession. "That's it," he whispered. "You're gone. You're not even mine anymore." The days that followed were worse than any nightmare. Daniel moved into the guest room. He went to work early, came home late. He barely spoke to me, except for clipped sentences about bills or groceries. I tried everything. Cooked his favorite meals. Wrote him letters. Begged for a chance to explain. But the video had done what words never could. It carved the betrayal into stone. One night I stood outside the guest room door, my palms sweating. "Daniel, please," I said softly. "Can we just talk?" Silence. "I love you. I made a mistake. Horrible mistake. But I need you to know it didn't mean." The door swung open and there he was. But not my Daniel. His eyes were bloodshot. His expression cold. "Stop saying you love me," he snapped. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have destroyed me." My chest tightened. I'm sorry. Sorry. He let out a humorless laugh. Do you know what it's like to watch the woman you built your life with, your wife, be with someone else? To hear her beg another man not to stop. I couldn't answer. I couldn't breathe. I can't unsee it, he whispered. Every time I close my eyes, it's there. That video didn't just show me the truth. It killed me. And then, softer, almost to himself, I'll never be the same. Weeks passed. Daniel stopped wearing his wedding ring. He stopped calling me by my name. Sometimes it felt like he didn't even see me anymore. Friends began to notice. My sister asked if we were okay. I lied, of course. Said we were just stressed. But at night, lying alone in bed, I felt the weight of his absence like a stone pressing into my ribs. Once, I caught him sitting in the driveway long after he'd parked the car, staring blankly at the steering wheel. I went out, touched his shoulder. He looked at me then, eyes full of something broken and unrecognizable. Do you even understand what you've done? He asked. Tears burned my cheeks. Yes, and I'd give anything to take it back. But he only shook his head. It wasn't until 2 months later that the full truth came out. I found him in the kitchen, staring at divorce papers he hadn't signed yet. His hands trembled. Daniel, please. Don't do this, I begged. We can fix it. Therapy, anything. Just don't throw us away. He slammed his hand on the table. I'm not the one who threw us away. My voice broke. I was lost. I felt invisible. You were always working, always exhausted. And when he... Don't you dare blame me. His voice thundered, raw and shaking. Don't you dare twist this into my fault. I would have walked through fire for you. I would have died for you. And you... His voice cracked. You chose him. The silence that followed was worse than the yelling. He just stared at me like he was looking at a stranger. I watched that video 100 times, he whispered finally. Hoping it wasn't real. Hoping I'd see some sign that you were pretending or forced, or anything that would let me believe you still loved me. But you weren't pretending. You wanted it. You wanted him. My knees buckled. I collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Daniel, I love you, I whispered. He shook his head slowly. No, you loved who I was to you. What I provided. The safety. The comfort. But me. You killed that when you let another man touch you like that. The next morning he was gone. No note. Just silence. I found out later he'd checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town. A coworker called me when he didn't show up for work, worried. When I finally found him, he looked worse than I'd ever seen him. Hollow cheeks. Dark circles under his eyes. A bottle of whiskey half empty on the nightstand. He didn't yell. Didn't cry. He just looked at me and said, leave. Begged. I dropped to my knees. But he wouldn't look at me. And that's when I realized. The video hadn't just broken our marriage. It had broken him. It's been a year now. We're divorced. Daniel lives alone. I hear from mutual friends that he barely talks to anyone. That he avoids parties, avoids eye contact, avoids life. The man I loved is still alive, but the spark that made him who he was, it's gone. Sometimes I lie awake replaying everything. The choices I made. The moment he pressed play. The way his face crumbled when the truth could no longer be hidden. People ask me if I regret it. Regret isn't even the word. I destroyed the only person who ever truly loved me. And for what? For moments of passion that meant nothing in the end. I lost him. But worse than that, I lost the man he used to be. And no matter how many times I replay it in my head, I can't change the fact that the video broke him inside. He's never been the same since.